The princess took a fancy to my husband, and Songshu respectfully but firmly rejected her, citing that he already had a wife at home. The next morning the princess threw my head at Songshu's feet. "Now you have no family," she said lightly. Songshu didn't shed a single tear, he just silently picked up my head and followed the princess into the carriage. How could the princess know that what she had taken away was the most terrifying secret art master in the Central Plains? The moment the carriage curtain was lifted, I followed Songshu into the carriage. The princess sat opposite Songshu, glaring at the human head with disgust. "You've already agreed to return to my residence with me. Why are you still holding that filthy thing?" Songshu smiled gently. "Ayun was once my wife. It is only right to send her off on her final journey." The princess's expression tightened. "Are you blaming me for killing her?" Songshu shook his head. "I'm just worried she has nowhere to be buried, and her soul might linger in the human world to pester your highness." I was almost angered to the point of my soul scattering. This dog of a man, my bones aren't even cold yet, and he is already buttering up the princess. I was furious, but the princess was overjoyed. She waved her jade hand lightly. "Forget it. I'll send you out of the city to bury her. After this, you will serve me wholeheartedly." Songshu lowered his eyes subserviently. "Yes, your highness." I kicked Songshu fiercely, but my translucent foot passed right through his body. He was completely oblivious. Alas, I'm already a lonely spirit. I can't kick him anymore. Forget it, seeing as he is willing to bury me. I won't bother with him for now. After the princess killed me, she burned my body to ashes, leaving only this head. Only when Songshu buries my head can I peacefully reincarnate. It is just that as husband and wife in this life, we've spent little time together, and a sudden eternal farewell actually feels a bit reluctant. It is not that I'm love-struck, it is just that Songshu is truly too handsome. I floated over to him, rested my head gently on his shoulder, and gazed at his handsome profile with reluctance. He seemed to sense it, turned his head slightly, and his thin lips happened to brush my forehead. The carriage arrived at a mountain outside the city, and stopped in front of a bamboo forest. Songshu got out of the carriage alone, holding my head, and the princess lifted the curtain, urging him to hurry. I followed behind Songshu, turning back to make a face at the princess. "Vicious woman. If I weren't afraid of not being able to reincarnate, I would definitely turn into a vengeful ghost to take your life." Songshu walked deep into the bamboo forest, cut off a corner of his clothes with a knife, and carefully placed my head on it. He still has some conscience, didn't just throw it on the ground. I floated next to him and looked down at my head on the ground. Messy black hair, blood-stained face. Utterly hideous. I sighed repeatedly, complaining that he didn't even clean me up. Of course he couldn't hear me. He was just concentrating on digging a pit in the open ground. No knife. No hoe, just those two hands. Soon, the small pit grew deeper and deeper, and his hands became a bloody mess. I anxiously stomped on his saber several times. "Oh no, you clearly have a knife on you." He still couldn't hear, still digging with his bare hands. Before long, the pit was dug. Songshu picked up my head and carefully combed out each knot in my hair. He is quite diligent." As he combed, he suddenly muttered to himself, "Ayun, tell me, how did she harm you?" I scoffed. "If you're so capable, go ask the princess. What good is asking my head? Can it even speak?" I plopped down beside him, huffing. "What else?" She grabbed my hair and slapped me several times, then ordered her subordinates to chop off my head with a knife. After chopping it off, she still wasn't satisfied, and even dragged my body away to be burned. Songshu had no reaction, still concentrating on combing my black hair. So annoying. "You can't hear me anyway. What is the point of asking?" Soon he smoothed all the hair from my forehead, revealing my slightly swollen cheeks. He gently caressed my face, and then lightly kissed my darkened lips. "Ayun," I kicked him again. "Bro, you're about to defect to the enemy who killed your wife. Why are you faking such deep affection?" It is a pity Songshu didn't notice my anger at all. He took off his personal jade pendant and placed it on my forehead. Then he carefully wrapped my head in clothes and gently placed it into the dug pit. Handfuls of yellow earth buried me. After all this, Songshu walked out of the bamboo forest without looking back. To embrace his glory and wealth, I watched him gradually disappear into the distance, silently bidding farewell in my heart. Suddenly, a strange force dragged me back forcefully. In an instant, I was back by Songshu's side. I was utterly confused. Had I seen a ghost? No, I am a ghost, and I haven't seen any other ghosts. I tried to walk towards the grave again, but once I left Songshu beyond a certain distance, I would be forcibly dragged back to his side by that power. I was completely baffled. I heard that if a person has an obsession after death, their soul will linger around the person they were obsessed with and refuse to leave. But what obsession do I have? Songshu is about to throw himself into the princess's arms. What obsession do I have? My ass. I just want to go to the underworld quickly, drink mung po soup, and happily reincarnate. If it is not obsession, then what is it? I looked back at my grave. A bare mound of yellow earth. That is right. It is the tombstone. I don't have a tombstone. It must be because of this that I can't go to the underworld. This damn Songshu, in a hurry to go back and fawn over the princess, couldn't even bother to erect a tombstone for me. You're the one in a hurry to reincarnate. I kicked and cursed by his side. But he got into the princess's carriage with a smile on his face. As soon as she got in, the princess smiled sweetly and snuggled up to him. Songshu didn't refuse, letting the princess lean half-heartedly in his arms and flirt. I couldn't stand it, and angrily floated to the roof of the carriage. The carriage passed through familiar streets and alleys, and soon approached the Song mansion. From a distance, I saw two familiar figures kneeling and crying in front of the Song mansion gate. "Give me back my daughter." Heart-wrenching cries came from afar. My heart tightened. It is Mom and Dad. I quickly floated over. Mom and Dad were dressed in plain clothes, kneeling in front of the Song mansion gate, their fists bloody from knocking, but the Song mansion gate was tightly shut, and no one paid them any mind. I wanted to help them up, but my hands passed through their bodies again and again. I helplessly knelt beside Mom and Dad, unsure how to help them. Suddenly, the princess's carriage stopped in front of the mansion gate. The princess lifted the curtain and said coldly, "What commoners dare to make trouble in front of the consort's residence? Guards drag them away and execute them." Upon hearing that, my heart leaped into my throat, and I rushed to the carriage cursing loudly. After only a few curses, my soul body started to heat up. Oh no, I'm about to turn into a vengeful spirit. If I become a vengeful spirit, I will seek revenge on the princess, and once I kill someone, I will never be reincarnated. But if I can save Mom and Dad, what does it matter if I can't be reincarnated? I was figuring out how to kill the princess when Songshu suddenly spoke. "Your Highness, today is the auspicious day of our wedding. It is best not to shed blood." The princess's expression instantly softened. She leaned lazily against the carriage window, narrowing her eyes. "Then you tell me, how should they be dealt with? Yun Yang's parents are country folk. Expel them from the city and never allow them back in." Songshu said, "I am willing to do this for your highness." "All right, go quickly and return quickly." The princess lowered the curtain. Songshu got out of the carriage and walked up to my parents. My parents saw him and started hitting him like mad. "You were the one who begged us to marry Ayin to you. Ayin has been a widow in all but name for the few years she was married to you. She finally hoped for your return to the capital, but she lost her life. You heartless man, give us back our Ayin." Fists like raindrops fell on Songshu's chest, but he lowered his gaze and remained silent. When I first met Songshu, I was still a country bumpkin from the mountains. Although the Song family was a minor official's family in the capital, not exactly a prestigious household, they wouldn't by rights look upon country girls like us. Of course that is by rights. Songshu and I met in the wilderness. He came to sightsee and enjoy the mountains, while I went up the mountain to gather herbs for my mother. He accidentally fell off a cliff, injured his leg, and was rescued by me, who happened to be passing by. I applied herbal medicine for him and gave him my day's ration of flatbread to sate his hunger. I hadn't eaten a single grain of rice all day, but I stubbornly insisted I wasn't hungry. I admit, it was all because he was too handsome. Later I carried him down the mountain, dropped him off at the infirmary, and left. I thought it was just a chance encounter, but unexpectedly soon after he came to propose marriage. My parents thought we were ill-matched in status, and dared not agree, so he knelt outside the door with the betrothal gifts for a day and a night. My parents dared not let anything really happen to him, so they nervously came to ask for my opinion, asking if I was willing to marry him. I shyly nodded, my mind filled with his peerless face. My parents had no choice but to agree to the marriage. When we were newlywed, our love was as strong as glue. But good times don't last. A few months later, war broke out at the border, and he was conscripted into the army. This separation lasted for 3 years. 3 years later, the Imperial Army returned victoriously, and the people lined the streets to welcome them. Songshu rode his horse among the troops, full of youthful vigor. I stood in the crowd, looking at his familiar yet unfamiliar face, worried if he had forgotten me, but he spotted me with a single glance. He jumped off his horse, ran to my side, and held me tightly in his arms. He said he had achieved military merits, and the emperor would surely promote him. He said he would build a new house and bring my parents to live in the city. He said he would let me live a better life. He said he would grow old with me. After a brief moment of intimacy, I watched him return to the procession heading to the palace to report. I'd wait for him to return tonight, and then we'd have a good reunion. I never expected that what awaited me was the news that the princess had taken a liking to him, and publicly requested the emperor to grant them a marriage. He comforted me saying that the emperor had not agreed, and he had also rejected the princess face to face. But I noticed a subtle unease in his expression. He tossed and turned all night, holding me and repeatedly saying he wanted me to stay by his side forever. I thought he missed me too much and smiled, agreeing. It wasn't until dawn that he finally fell into a shallow sleep. I tucked him in and quietly left the room. Presumably the hardships of battlefield life were making him restless. I wanted to buy some soothing herbs for him. But as soon as I stepped out, I was killed by the princess on the street. Songshu stood in front of the Song manor with his eyes lowered, letting his parents scold and beat him. His parents finally stopped after getting tired from hitting him. Collapsing to the ground and sobbing loudly, Songshu called out the household staff and instructed them to escort his parents safely out of the city. He then whispered something to one of them. I leaned in to listen but couldn't hear clearly. His parents got into the carriage, and I followed them. I wanted to cry, hugging my mother's arm, but no tears would come out. How much I missed my mother, how much I wanted to go home with them. As soon as the carriage had traveled a short distance, that mysterious force grabbed my soul again. I struggled desperately, but I was still uncontrollably pulled back to Songshu's side. I could only watch helplessly as my parents disappeared at the end of the long street. I suddenly remembered the years with my parents in the countryside. Though life was hard back then, every day was very happy. Whenever there was something good to eat at home, it would always be for me first, and if there were new clothes they'd be made for me first too. The neighbors all advised my parents to have another son, saying that only with a son would they have support. But my parents said, having Ayan was enough. My parents who loved me so much, how would they live without me? The more I thought, the sadder I got, but my soul couldn't shed tears, I could only wail. Wailing and cursing. You dog man. If I'd known this, I wouldn't have married you. I shouldn't have saved you in the first place. You should have just fallen to your death at the bottom of the cliff. Songshu heard nothing. He just gazed intently in the direction of the city gate, a hint of melancholy flashing in his eyes. When night fell, Songshu arrived at the princess's mansion. The princess held Songshu's hand as they dismounted the carriage and I reluctantly followed behind them. The princess's mansion was really big, more than 10 times the size of the Song residence. Carved railings and jade steps resplendent and magnificent. No wonder Songshu couldn't resist, but as he looked at the magnificent palace, there was no happy expression on his face. What, you don't seem very happy? The princess pouted and asked him, her delicate face inspiring pity. Songshu shook his head. Your Highness, I only returned to the capital yesterday. I'm a bit tired. Besides, Your Highness and I don't have a proper status yet. I shouldn't have entered the mansion so early. The princess hooked her arm through Songshu's. Oh, what is the big deal? I've already told Father Emperor about us. Father Emperor dotes on me. And tomorrow morning, the imperial edict for our marriage will arrive. My heart instantly turned cold. The princess killed me, and immediately took my head to the Song mansion. How could she have time to discuss it with the emperor, unless they had already agreed yesterday? So, the emperor didn't publicly agree to the princess's request, but privately he agreed to grant the princess a marriage. He clearly knew Songshu was already married, so, killing me was with the emperor's tacit approval. I always thought the emperor was a wise ruler, but how could a wise ruler indulge his daughter to murder someone in the street, and forcefully take someone else's husband? Songshu, you fought hard for 3 years for such an emperor. I thought Songshu would be as disappointed as I was, but he didn't seem surprised. Only his fist clenched by his side, turning white. As night fell, Songshu moved into the guest room of the princess's mansion. I originally thought they would share a room tonight, so I specifically hid on the rooftop. From the looks of it, the princess doesn't break all rules either. The light in Songshu's room remained on, and I floated down from the rooftop, wanting to see what he was doing. Just as I reached the window, Songshu looked up and gazed in my direction. I froze in place. He stared at my face for a long time. Then he got up, walked slowly to the window and murmured to himself, "Tonight's moon is truly round." So he was looking at the moon. Before he went to the frontier to fight, we had agreed to watch the moon together every night. He and I were thousands of miles apart, but the moon we were looking at was the same one. As soon as I thought of this, my heart would flutter with joy. The bitterness of longing was also diluted by the moonlight. In those days I wished daily for the day we'd reunite and lean against each other to watch the moon. I never thought that the next time we'd watch the moon together, it wouldn't be separated by thousands of miles, but by life and death. Aeon, tell me, is the princess beautiful? Songshu suddenly spoke to himself. It startled me. I stomped my foot in anger. You just had to bring her up for no reason. You like her that much? Even if she killed me, you'd still like her. Songshu didn't answer my question. Yeah, he can't hear me. I could only stew in silent anger by myself, without anyone to vent to. These days as a ghost are truly unbearable. Ayun, do you like the princess's looks? Songshu spoke again. I rolled my eyes, bro. She killed me. No matter how beautiful she is, there is no way I could like her. But I have to admit, the princess was indeed breathtakingly beautiful. If I had grown to look like her, would Songshu be even a little bit sad right now? I sighed. Which woman in the world wouldn't like her looks? But her heart is also terribly venomous. You should be careful too. What if she gets tired of you one day, or falls for someone else and kills you too? After saying this, I actually started to worry. What if the princess wanted to kill Songshu one day? What should he do? Who knew while I was worrying about him? He suddenly chuckled. No way. Is he so happy just thinking about the princess's beauty? I'm not playing with you anymore. I yelled, and angrily started to float towards the rooftop. Songshu suddenly flipped out the window and walked towards me. I was so scared I froze, rooted to the spot. Is it a coincidence, or did he see me? Songshu stretched out his hand and waved it in the empty space, exactly where my head was. I was scared silly. A ghost being scared by a human, it is embarrassing to even say it. Songshu curled his lips into a smile, his dark eyes reflecting a bottomless cold pool. He approached me and said in a voice only I could hear, Ayun, I'll give you her skin. What do you say? Is it good? I wide-eyed. You can see before I could finish. A piercing scream suddenly came from next door, interrupting me completely. Next door was the courtyard where the princess resided. Songshu's expression changed, and he rushed towards next door. On the way, he passed directly through my body. I was stunned for a moment, then turned and followed him. Entering the courtyard, I was shocked by the scene before me. The princess, in her nightclothes disheveled, sat in the center of the courtyard, trembling all over. A swarming crowd of people surrounded her, closing in on her step by step. Most of those people were dressed in rags, covered in wounds, and some even had a hand half severed, dangling and swaying in the air. Wait, those aren't people, they're ghosts. I was curious why I hadn't seen any other ghosts since I died. but I never expected to suddenly see so many at once. Those ghosts snarled around the princess, as if trying to claim her life. The princess clearly saw them, so scared that she covered her head and curled into a ball. Song Shu, however, was quite calm. He walked towards the princess, and as he passed through the crowd of ghosts, they actually stopped in their tracks, no longer moving forward. Song Shu squatted down and helped the princess up. "Your Highness, what is wrong?" The princess was trembling. "Ghosts, there are ghosts. Can't you see them?" Song Shu looked around, then shook his head blankly. "Princess, there are only you and I in this courtyard." Now it was my turn to be puzzled. Earlier he had said some strange things to me, and I thought he could see me. If he could see me, he would naturally be able to see this whole courtyard full of ghosts. Could it be that he couldn't see me at all? Nor the ghosts? Was he just talking to himself, and just happened to be looking in my direction when he did? But why did these ghosts avoid him? Just as I was racking my brain, the princess asked the question for me. "Why are these ghosts avoiding you?" "They avoided me." Song Shu frowned and pondered for a moment, then suddenly, as if enlightened, took out a red brocade pouch from his waist. Could it be because of this brocade pouch? "What is this?" the princess asked. Song Shu replied, "When I was marching on the frontier, I often had nightmares in the middle of the night. A sorcerer from the western regions told me that the frontier region has heavy karmic sin from killing, and the vengeful spirits of the soldiers refuse to disperse, which is why I have nightmares. I spent a fortune asking him to help me, so he gave me this brocade pouch, saying it could protect me from being disturbed by ghosts." I was stunned. Song Shu was plagued by nightmares on the frontier. Why had he never mentioned it in his letters home? All these years he actually lived such a difficult life. I was feeling pained when the princess suddenly snatched the brocade pouch from his hand. "This brocade pouch is so good, let me use it." "If your Highness wants it, just take it, everything of mine belongs to your Highness." Song Shu smiled with a doting expression. Good heavens, feeling sorry for a man really does bring bad luck. But the princess's manor should be located in a place with excellent feng shui. How could there be ghosts causing trouble? Song Shu asked. The princess snorted. "They're all those damned commoners still not at peace even after death. Tomorrow I'll find a sorcerer to get rid of them all." Song Shu sighed. "I'm afraid it'll be a long night, and my little brocade pouch won't last until tomorrow." The princess panicked. "Then what should we do?" "I learned some ghost exorcising techniques from that western region's sorcerer in the frontier. How about I give it a try? Perhaps I can solve your Highness's troubles." Song Shu said. Oh wow! Song Shu learned some new skills while fighting this war. After obtaining the princess's consent, Song Shu sent her back to her room, found paper and pen, and sat in the courtyard to draw talismans. My curiosity piqued. I leaned in to watch. The lines on the paper were intricate and messy, looking quite authentic. He couldn't really have some actual skills, could he? Then would I be exorcised by him too? I raised my hand and waved it in front of his eyes. "Hey, don't you go killing me." Song Shu ignored me, focusing on drawing talismans. After a while, he held up a talisman, muttering incantations. The princess hid by the window, tightly clutching the brocade pouch, nervously looking outside. Break! With his loud shout, I saw a blue light float towards the princess, enveloping her whole body. The ghosts looked at each other, showing no reaction. What the heck? Not a single ghost was exorcised. He really is just a dabbler. Just as I thought his ghost exorcism had failed, the princess cried out happily, "They're all gone, all gone. That is great." Song Shu turned to the princess and smiled. "I have exterminated all the ghosts. Your Highness can rest assured." "Good, tonight you stand guard at my door. If any other ghosts come, you get rid of them for me," the princess said. "All right." Song Shu listened to her, obediently sitting at the door of her room. The two of them went back and forth, one sentence after another, leaving me dumbfounded. The ghosts are all standing properly in the courtyard. Where else would they be? "Girl, were you also killed by the princess?" A clear voice rang out beside my ear. I shivered, turned my head and saw a pale but very delicate-looking girl. I nodded. "I was killed by the princess. Were you too?" The girl sighed. We all were. Other ghosts saw us talking, gathered around, and started accusing her, one after another. That day I didn't get out of the way of the princess's carriage in time, so she killed me. Mine's even more outrageous. I wore a yellow dress, and the princess had her subordinate stab me to death, saying yellow was ugly. Oh, we're all ill. Fated people. I just bought a candied whore for my daughter, and the princess killed both me and my daughter, saying that when she was little, the emperor wouldn't let her eat candied whores. Hearing this, I understood. So these delicate girls, ordinary passers-by, pitiful mothers and children, they were all innocent souls under the princess's blade. To the princess we were just lowly commoners, but we were all living earnestly. But even the right to live, she cruelly wanted to strip away. Power truly is a strange thing, making people flock to it, and also making them more terrifying than ghosts. Are you gathered here to demand the princess's life? I asked the girl. If we could take her life, of course. That would be good. It's just if ghosts take the lives of the living, they can no longer enter reincarnation. The girl said, we just wanted to scare her, and also get some justice for ourselves. I was puzzled, but looking at the princess, she probably hasn't seen ghosts before. Why did you all agree to scare her today? We've been here for a long time. The girl said, before the princess had a ghost-repelling barrier on her. We couldn't get close to her, and she couldn't see us just tonight. After she brought that man back from outside, that barrier broke, and that's why she was scared out of her wits by us. It wasn't until just now, when that man put a talisman on her, that her barrier recovered. I lowered my head and fell into thought. The man the girl mentioned was obviously Song Shu. As soon as Song Shu arrived, the princess's barrier broke. Could it be that Song Shu did something? The talisman Song Shu drew for the princess could only restore her ghost-repelling barrier. But why did he lie to the princess, saying he had already eliminated all the ghosts? I looked towards the doorway. Song Shu was sitting cross-legged, eyes slightly closed on the brocade mat the princess had prepared for him, as if he truly didn't see the courtyard full of ghosts. What about that man? Can you get close to him? I pointed at Song Shu. The girl shook her head. He also has a ghost-repelling barrier on him. It's just that the barrier doesn't come from the brocade pouch he gave the princess. Good heavens, Song Shu really didn't tell the princess the truth. What exactly does he want to do? I squatted in front of him, reaching out and waving my hand in front of his eyes. Song Shu opened his eyes, but didn't look at me. I planned to try and trick him. Hey, Song Shu, stop pretending I know you can see me. Song Shu stared at the ground, ignoring me. If you don't talk to me, I'll tell these ghosts about your embarrassing fall off the cliff. Song Shu still ignored me. Song Shu, I'm angry. I'm going to turn into a vengeful spirit and kill both you and the princess. I bared my fangs and brandished my claws to scare him. Song Shu closed his eyes and started snoring. Song Shu. To test Song Shu, I yelled and screamed beside him all night. He slept incredibly soundly. I came to the conclusion, Song Shu talking to me last night was pure coincidence. He couldn't see me at all. I also discovered that I was somewhat different from the other ghosts. Other ghosts couldn't get close to the princess and Song Shu, but I was completely fine, even able to pass through their bodies. Moreover, these ghosts could wander to other places besides the princess's mansion, but as soon as I left Song Shu for a certain distance, I would be forcibly pulled back. Could it be that my soul was also tampered with? By daytime, the ghost's spiritual power diminished, and they all went to dark corners to rest. Only I was forced to wander within dozens of feet of Song Shu, like a dog tied to a post, unable to wander outside. I simply entered the princess's room. I really want to see what kind of attitude Song Shu has towards the princess. It was better not to look, but when I did, I almost died of anger. Song Shu woke up early in the morning, and as soon as he woke up, he ran to the princess's bedside and stared intently at her. Pervert. When the sun was high, the princess finally woke up too. Seeing Song Shu, the princess froze for a second, then smiled at him, her face radiant with joy. You guarded me all night. Song Shu also smiled. Yes, thankfully no filthy things came out to disturb your highness this night. I rolled my eyes. This guy fell asleep after sitting for a while, and he still has the nerve to say he guarded her all night. Why didn't I notice he was so glib before? But the princess didn't know. She was deeply touched, gazing at Songshu with affection, her beautiful eyes looking as if clear spring water was about to well up. If she hadn't killed me, I might really think she was a beautiful and kind person. Everyone knows it is wrong to judge a book by its cover, but unfortunately, no one can escape it. Just like I can't escape Songshu, and Songshu can't escape the princess. The two exchanged loving glances for a while. Then the princess suddenly put her hand to her forehead. Songshu, I don't know why, but I feel so tired, I have no strength at all. Songshu's brows furrowed with worry. Your Highness is unwell, perhaps we should invite the imperial physician from the palace to take a look. The princess nodded. All right, Father Emperor will surely be heartbroken when he knows I'm not feeling well. Everyone knew the princess was favored by the emperor. It is just that I never imagined before that this favor also included indulging his daughter in the indiscriminate killing of innocents. In the afternoon, the imperial physician arrived, looked her over for a while, and found no problems, only saying that the princess was startled and just needed some calming medicine and bed rest. After the imperial physician left, the princess got up and had lunch with Songshu, then went back to lie down on the couch. Songshu personally brewed the medicine for the princess, fed it to her, and coaxed her to sleep peacefully. Looking at Songshu's obedient appearance, I sighed. Oh gods, if there really is a next life, let me be a princess too. I wonder if it was my imagination, but I saw Songshu's figure pause. Before long the princess fell asleep, and Songshu got up and went to the desk. He plopped down right on top of my head. Hey, can't you see someone's here? I grumbled and moved aside, sitting next to him. Songshu pulled a book out from his sleeve and started flipping through it. I leaned over for a look. It's the novel I've been reading recently. When I was alive, my favorite pastime was reading novels. After we got married, Songshu often accompanied me to the street to buy new novels. Later, when he went to war, whenever I missed him, I'd read novels. Immersed in the world of novels, I could temporarily forget about him. The day he returned, I mentioned the new novel I had bought to him. Unfortunately, I died after only reading half of it. I didn't expect Songshu to bring this storybook to the princess's manor. All right. I'm dead, and you're not burning the storybook for me. You're keeping it for yourself instead. I punched Songshu 3 times fiercely. Songshu opened the storybook, and inside was the bookmark I made from a leaf. Songshu stared intently at the bookmark for a while, then pulled it out. I thought he was going to turn to the first page, but who knew he started reading directly from the page with the bookmark. I was overjoyed, happily leaning my head on his shoulder and reading with him. He slowly turned the pages, the twilight glow falling between his slender fingers. Just like when I was alive that whole day, except for meals and medicine, the princess was in a deep sleep. Thanks to her, I read storybooks all day. Early the next morning, a royal decree arrived at the princess's manor. It said that the emperor, concerned for the princess's health, wanted to postpone the wedding. He also decreed that Songshu should return to the Song manor first and come back when the princess was well. Upon hearing this, the princess went mad, clamoring to see the emperor, insisting on keeping Songshu. Songshu patiently coaxed the princess by her side, telling her to listen to her imperial father. The princess grew even angrier. What do you know? Imperial father dotes on me the most. He'll definitely agree. Songshu bringing over the medicine bowl. Your Highness, the medicine will get cold. Your Highness should detar.